Welcome back to the Power of Team Will podcast. In today's episode, I want to try to give my insight to help some families or students navigate this exciting and sometimes overwhelming journey from high school to the real world. I'm your host, David, and today I'll be diving deep into what high school students need to be planning before graduation. If you don't know, I work in the education system. I work in the high school, and normally we walk around and we ask students, "What are you planning on doing after high school?" And when I use the word "What are you planning on doing?" that means you have to think, what are you doing actively right now to set yourself up when you go to graduate high school? And I have a theory, and here's my theory. My theory is once you go to graduate, you're going to do one of four things. Here we go. You're either going to join the military. That's one. You're going to go off to college. That's two. Number three, some say that I'm going to own my own business. That's one. And the other ones normally use the typical language of, I don't know. So when I hear I don't know, what I think is this. They're going to be, I gave it an acronym. I call it HWPNND, which stands for Home with Parents, Nickel and Diamond. When I say nickel and diamond, I ain't talking about selling drugs, people. I'm talking about working at Burger King, working at McDonald's, working odd jobs just for money and staying home with their parents. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you own your own business, some people have the option to move out, depending on how good their business is, and some people don't. So that business and home with parents could go hand to hand. So I want to talk about these things because usually the typical high school students talk about this is what they're planning on doing. Planning means you're actually doing things to work towards a specific goal. Usually what end up happening is people say, I'm going to the military. You got an idea, but you ain't got no plan to get there. I'm going to college, but they ain't got no plan to get there. Or I'm going to own my business, own my own business. They ain't got no plan to own their own business. Some business, what they really mean is a hustle. I'm out here just selling items, making a couple dollars, but you're not trying to establish a legitimate business. In today's episode, I want to dive deep into these conversations, whether students are planning on joining the military, heading off to college, or even launching their own business. Today's episode, I'm going to have you covered. So let me jump right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is joining the military. The military can be a great opportunity if that's something that you want to do. But when I say planning on joining the military, there's some things that you should ask your son, your daughter, or your son or daughter should be planning for. One, they need to know what branch of service they want to join. The Army, there's the Navy, there's the Air Force, there's the Marine Corps, there's the Coast Guard, and now we all know there's the Space Force. So those are the different type of military branches that they want to go into. But what are some of the requirements that's needed? You need at least to be 17 years old and have a high school diploma. If you don't have your high school diploma, you need to have a GED, a high school GED. Those are the first two things that you need. So being 17, yes, you can sign on a contract at 17 years old, but you do need your parents' permission at 17. Once that child turns 18, they no longer need your permission. But at 17, they can join at 17. One of the things they also need to do, and it's something that they should be prepared for that people don't think about, is called the ASVAB. The ASVAB stands for the Armed Forces Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. You have to take that test and pass that test normally to go into the military. Now, this test is not really to gauge how great or based on what job, because that's one of the things people talking about is like, well, if you score high on the job, they get you this job or this job. So scoring high on the job is The reason you want to score high because it says that you can do any job in the military. The purpose of the ASVAB is to assess your skills to help determine what jobs that you're qualified in the military. To figure out what you're qualified in the military. Because on that military test, it talks about automotive. You're going to take tests related to mechanical, nuts, bolts, screws, wrenches, all those different types of things, because there's a lot of mechanical jobs in every branch of the service. So you can score, the highest I believe is a 99, and anywhere between a 31 is the passing score. So what's the passing score? Let's talk about it. First, the Army. The Army requires a 31, a minimum score of 31, and you can enter into the Army. The Army, 31. The Marine Corps, 31. The Navy averages 31. And the Air Force ranges sometimes between a 49 or a 51. Anywhere in between a 49 and 51, it just really, the Air Force really depends on it. And the Air Force is just an extension, same thing with the Space Force. So the Air Force test scores need to be a little higher because they say, and what the recruiters are telling me is a lot of their jobs that they offer in the military are more mechanical, technical, fixing aircrafts, all those different types of things. And they want to know that you have that specific skill to do that job. In the Marine Corps, Army, and Navy, is a lot of supply, warehouse jobs, admin jobs, just the same. But the first thing is passing that test. Can you pass that ASVAB? And it's rooted, and it takes similar questions from the SAT and ACT. So if you can take the SAT and SAT, well, you have no problem taking that ASVAB. So that's something that you need to know, that ASVAB. And don't forget, physical fitness. Each branch has its own physical fitness test. So starting to work out now as a freshman is important, depending on what branch of service is. Let's talk about each branch of service. So the Marine Corps and the Army are more of a physical fitness branch of service, meaning this, that the Marine Corps has, the toughest physical fitness standards, meaning that you have to pass what you call as an initial strength test. So you got to run 1.5 miles, you got to do some pull-ups, you got to do some push-ups, and then you got to do now what is called a plank. The Army does push-ups, crunches, and a run. But let me tell you, to sustain yourself into these branches of service, you got to think of two things. The Marine Corps requires you to run and pass a physical fitness test of 3 miles. So you have to be able to run 3 miles. The Army is 2 miles. So there's a little difference. So when people say which branch is the hardest, maybe they're talking about the physical fitness standards. So that's the Army and the Marine Corps. And then we talk about the Navy. The Navy and the Air Force ranges sometimes anywhere from 1.5 miles. I think it's just 1.5 miles, some planks and some push-ups. That's the difference. The height. And don't forget, you have to be within height and weight standards. I'm not going to go over all the height and weight standards, but by your height, you have to be within a certain weight range. So you're not going into the military overweight. And sometimes they deny you because you're not of weight, meaning that you're lighter than what they need you. They want you to gain some weight prior to going into the military. Case in point, if you're 5'7" and you weigh 98 pounds, they may want you to buff up, gain some, because that's a lot of weight that you're putting on your body within the uniforms, the packs, and trying to carry. So they want to make sure you're strong and physical enough to handle any boot camp. Those are some of the things that you need to think about and start planning ahead. What students normally wait, and which is a disaster, they wait until they become a senior in high school and they figure out, man, I want to join the military. Oh, I didn't know I had to take the ASVAB. I got to take a physical strength test. These are all the things that just popping up. These are the things that they should be considering now. They should be weighing out all those options and seeing if that's something what they want to do as far as each branch of service. Now, here's something that I normally tell to people when considering the military. When we're considering the military, I hate normally when parents that never serve normally say, don't join this branch of service because this is the hardest, this is the easiest. Let me tell you, to give a child that advice, you don't know what branch of service is easier for them. And this is what you need to consider. This is what I normally tell individuals. When you decide to join the military, no matter what branch of service, this is something you need to consider. The Army and the Marine Corps are physical fitness based. That means if you do good physical fitness, you know how to do your job, and you're staying out of trouble, most likely you will excel, you will get promoted, everything. Because going into the military, you want to get promoted. You don't want to stay stuck in a rank. And a lot of times if you don't excel in the ranks, the military service will put you out if you don't get promoted in those ranks. So those two branches of service, that's something that you need to know. Now let's talk about the Navy and the Air Force. If you want to get promoted into the Navy and the Air Force, this is something you need to consider. Their physical fitness standards is not that hard. So we're talking about a mile and a half, couple push-ups, crunches, you get up out of there. It's not that bad. But you have to take tests every time for your advancement as far as promotion. Are you good at taking tests? Do you got poor study habits? And some people tell their children, you need to go into the Air Force. And your child has poor study habits. Now, as long as they know that going in, and maybe they're willing to change up and start studying, because you have to study, you have to know your job. You have to know the military policies. Those are all those things that are on that Navy and Air Force test. And if you're not good at taking tests, you're going to struggle because you can pass the test, but you haven't passed it high enough based on everybody else that's passing the test. But you also got to be doing your job where make sure your physical fitness, making sure you're doing volunteer. All these things make you look good for promotion when we talk about the military. And also, you need to know that some medical issues deny you opportunity for joining the military. A lot of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, asthma, prior surgeries, all these different types of things will deny you military service. So the best thing is to check with a recruiter. But a lot of times a recruiter can't even tell you that because they got to take that, send that paperwork off to higher headquarters, and they give the approval. So the recruiter's like, yeah, you be all right. I've seen this before. You never know. Things might change. So it's something that you need to pay attention to. But also talking to that recruiter can provide you more information about the branches of services, the bonuses, all those different types of job and opportunity. But normally when you're looking for a specific type of job, you don't take your test and say, I want that job. One, the job has to be open, meaning that there's a certain number of people in that's filling that job position. So a senior person has to get out, retire, clear up, and that allows you, if that job is open at the time that you're trying to go into the military, they can offer you that because they have to put you in that's in line with that job opening if you're looking for a job. If you're just looking for something right now, they're going to tell you all the jobs that are open right now. If you're trying to leave within the next week or two, or if you're trying to leave within a month or 2 months, that's why if you're a senior in high school and you can take that ASVAB and you can solidify that score, know what you want to do in December, and then you can ship out in June. You graduate in May, you gone in June, July. And that time frame works perfect. So those are some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about the military, because some students normally wait to the last minute and they be like, oh, I want to go to college. I want to take tests. You still got to take that test to get in the military. And I've seen students, scores come across my desk and they have a 5, they have a 10, they have a 20, they have a 22. And it's been my experience at teaching at a high school is that if you take the ASVAB at your local high school, you can take it many times that you need. But if you go to a recruiting station, anywhere that a recruiter, they give you a practice test, there's no penalty. But if you go to their main office and you take that test and you fail it, you have to wait a minimum of 30 days before you can retake that test. That's why it's important to take it like around about December, that first semester of your senior year. Because if you don't pass it, you have that 30 days to wait if you're trying to leave home right after high school. And then if you fail it a second time, you have to wait 6 months. So the clock is against you. But even in the military, I recommend if you can take it your sophomore year, take it your sophomore year. It's you getting used to taking that test. So take it your sophomore year or take it your junior year. But once you pass that score, once you pass that threshold, if you're trying to join the Air Force and you pass 50, 55, 60, that's it. Don't retake it again. Go to the recruiter, see what jobs are available at the time that you're trying to ship, and say, let's go. Because you're going to ask them, I scored, I got a 60, what jobs are available, and I'm looking to leave this time. And that recruiter can be able to tell you, based on your time frame, these are the jobs that are available. So that's something that you need to consider when we talk about the military. Now, I want to transition into something a little different. It's a touchy subject to a lot of people in the world, and there's a lot of thought process and opinions on this specifically. We're going to talk about college. When we're talking about college, what I want you to do is take the time, first of all, look up college. I'm an educator first, people. You know, like the longer you spend in the education system, you know you have to try to be as accurate as possible with the information that you're talking about. So I like to say I'm an educator first. I don't just go by what society thinks and what society believes. I'm going to educate you. Now, it's on you and your responsibility to be, I guess, responsible with your words. When I'm talking about college, let me tell you something. Some people say, I don't want to send my kid to college. I need to go to trade school. Now, what I need you to do, type in your phone, type in college. I need you to go to dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster, something to see what the definition of college is. When we talk about a definition of a college, they're talking about an independent institution of higher learning offering different degree specifically, or an institution that's offering a professional, vocational, or technical some type of field. So if you're going to trade school, it's still a form of college. If you're going to business school, it's still college. It's a system of higher education. Now, some people only limit college to a four-year university. You know, but it irks my nerves when I hear people, I'm not sending my kids to college, but I'm going to send them to technical school. They're the same thing. But I know what you really mean. You mean a 4-year university, sending them to a 4-year university that they're not going to study a degree or do whatever in a degree. But if a child has a plan and y'all work that plan out, I just say if college is a thing, when I talk about college, listen to me. When I talk about college, I'm talking about all those things. What am I talking about specifically? Now, when you go to college, there's a couple different things. You can go to a traditional 4-year university. But the things with 4-year universities that people don't know about, what are the requirements? You know, when you ask them, I'm going to college, then you narrow it down and say, what college? They're like, I don't know. These are the things that they need to be thinking about now, because the classes that you take in high school can help you for the college degree that you're taking. That's what you're supposed to be doing. The hardest thing is I have some ninth graders that know where they're going to be and know what college that they're striving for. They know what degree they want to take, and they're taking the classes in high school to help them excel at that next level. A lot of people sit in this building of high school and they don't even think of it. They wait till they become a senior. They took whatever classes that somebody told them to take. That is a problem. That is a problem. And some people say, well, go to the guidance counselor. You can go to a guidance counselor and ask them, and the guidance counselor, the first thing is going to ask you, what do you want to do when you graduate high school? And if that child says, I don't know, parents, You have to be talking to your child about their future. You have to be talking to them. You got to ensure they're sitting with these guidance counselors and seeing what these requirements are. So let's talk about some of the requirements to get into a four-year institution. We should already know the ACT or SAT. Something you should be thinking about. You have to pay sometimes a application fee. Are you willing to pay that $40, $50 application fee? And sometimes those fees get waived. That is talking with a counselor, and they can tell you what fees are being waived and what are your options. Now, maybe not a four-year institution. Maybe you want to go to a two-year college. Maybe you want to go to a two-year college. It's cheaper. It's more based on technical skill. Those are different things that you need to look into. First, you got to know how much that school is going to cost. You have to think how you're going to pay for it, because they're not going to give you scholarships based on poor performance. You have to be performing in these institutions of high school. Please do not sit here 4 years and do nothing and walk into a four-year university and apply for a four-year university and just accept student loans. They're giving away scholarships. The problem is people don't want to do the work to know what scholarships are out there. Do the work. What qualifications? This is an institution of learning. The time is there. Take these clubs and classes. These are things that you need to be talking to your children about, and your children need to be seeking this. When we talk about college, don't forget, we talk about trade schools. I just know where I'm at in the state of Georgia. They're offering free money for you to go to trade schools to learn electrician, plumbing. They're offering free money, but students have to apply for it. Those trade schools still ain't free. Just like a four-year institution, you still got to pay for it. But you got to apply for the free money. You got to apply. You're not just going to show up like high school, knock on a door and say, here's my stuff, give me my money, I'm going to school. That's not how it works. Once you become 18 and adult, everything is a process. High school, elementary, middle school, all is a process, but parents normally do the process. But once you become an adult, they're looking for the considered adult to fill out the process. And a lot of times they don't want to fill out the process. They're expecting just to transition on with no work having to do on their end. So trade schools, something that people don't talk about. You need to look it up. The apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program is a way to offer different types of things, as far as trade schools, all those different types of things. If not trade school, think about the Job Corps. Some people forget, but the Job Corps is still around. What I want to do in one of my podcasts in a later episode, I want to show you and walk you through what it's like to apply for an apprenticeship and or apply for the Job Corps. These are different things that we need to look into. But we wait until the last minute when we become a high school and we are scrambling for these different types of things. The Job Corps is simple. You can look in the Job Corps and they look for people starting at the age of 16. But there's a cap. I want to say the cap is 24. You're 24. And they give you job training, education. They provide you housing like the college. Job Corps do that. Food, medical care. Those are different types of things. So those are a couple of different options that you all should look into and be planning for your transition after high school. So let's talk about the next one. What is our next one? Next one we're going to talk about is building a legitimate business. Now, I'm not against it. I'm for it. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs out there that are trying to build those business, but this is just my words. Don't quote me on it, or you can feel what I'm talking about. I just think there's a difference between a business and a hustle. A hustle is normally what kids do. They sell t-shirts, they sell shoes. There's no registration process. far as letting everybody know that you're an entity, but something that you need to know is that building a legitimate business is something that you need to know. Like, what's a LLC? Building an LLC, limit liability company. It's something to protect you when you're starting to make money from your business. Having that EIN number. That's like having a social security for your business to make sure you can file and write things off of taxes. So you don't want to be pushing your hustle and the government is seeing all this money come in and they don't know how you getting it, and then you get that letter in the mail said they looking for you. They're looking for you. And something that I talked about in my last episode is talking about financial literacy. People always talk about the bank's not giving you money. I wouldn't give you no money neither if you ain't got no credit. So sometimes as parents, we do a disservice to our child. Put them on your line of credit. Let them build your credit. And while they're working, listen. While they're working in their business, whatever they're selling, let them use your credit. They save their money. Let them build their finances up. And when they turn 18, just imagine already having credit, having $20,000 to $30,000 in their account for the money that they're saved at the age of 18. How many business loans that you can get? How many grants that you think they'd be willing to give you now? You got established credit by the assistance of your parents, and you got money in your account to just ask for a blank check with no credit, with no sense of, you got a work history, 3 to 4 years working in high school, but you ain't got no money in the account. To me, that's a business risk. I wouldn't even want to give you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and all your money is gone. And I talk to kids in high school all the time. What are they spending money on? Jordans, clothes, shoes, going out to eat, going out to spend. If you want that child to blow that money on that, there's gonna be time to enjoy that. There's gonna be you're banking 4 years for the next 30 years, 40 years of your life. And you want to enjoy those 4 years, and now when you're 18, now you mad at the system of education because it didn't help you? No, you wanted to club, you wanted to go to prom, you wanted senior dues, you wanted to do football that you weren't good in, you wanted to look good, you want to do all the things that is not going to help you. Take those things into consideration, and that way you can set yourself up for success. And building that business, don't forget, you got to figure out whether you want to have that building. Because if you start looking for a business that has a building, you got to get a permit. Do you know your city and local government and where to go to get that permit? And you got to start understanding the importance of taxes. Some people say, you know what you should do? Just go to school for business. Now, it can be a double-edged sword. You can figure out the business side by making mistakes ahead of time, but you're going to throw money out the door. You're going to throw $30,000, $40,000 trying to figure that out. Or you can invest 30, 40, or how many thousands of dollars to get your bachelor's degree in business and entrepreneurship and learn all those things before you get into that business. But it just really depends on the individual. But knowing that that's an option is something that you should take in consideration. It should never go unthought about. And also, networking is key when having a business. Whatever you're selling, you got to be in these circles. Be consistent. Be in these circles, building your business, networking, talking with people. They want to see your work ethic. Sometimes it takes giving out free money. When I say not, I don't want to say free money. Sometimes it takes giving out your product for free so people know what your product is. It's networking. Here, try this. It's going to be word of mouth. That's just how things go, because I basically run a nonprofit myself. And some things I've given out free and I got 10 times in return. Just by giving out, hey, try this out, see what this like, and they come back in. That's why a lot of business give you samples. See what those samples are. But getting out, talking with people is something that will help you in the success of building that business. So let's start with my last one. Let's go to my last one. My last one, remember I said it's called HWPNND. home with your parents nickel and diamond. And I say that because that is the consequence for not planning. Let me tell you what happens when you don't plan. 4 years of high school. You don't plan, you end up realizing you can't score higher on the ASVAB. Oh man, I got to do something else. You realize you can't pass the physical fitness test. Oh, I got to do something else. You realize that I'm not even medically qualified to be into the military. I got to do something else. Let's talk about college. I can't pass the ACT. Now I got to go to a 2-year university. Oh, I don't even qualify to get into the 2-year university. They won't even take me. They won't accept me. Now I'm home working at a job that's just going to take me. McDonald's is always going to take you. Usually, if you haven't been in any trouble, you did what you're supposed to do. McDonald's, the grocery stores, those different types of things. And just now you got to stay at home with your parents waiting to see what's going to happen next. You borrowing money from family members because you're struggling. And a lot of times you're borrowing because you're spending your money out in the clubs. Me personally, and what I do with my money, I don't want to invest into a family member that spend all their money in the club. Now, I'm willing to invest in family members that are trying to build a business, trying to build something legitimate. But why do I want to continue to invest in somebody and all they doing is throwing their money away? That's a bad investment. No one out here that, especially the people that don't even have money, would invest in something that they're just going to throw their money away with. And it's something like stocks. You wouldn't do it with stocks, but you say family members are not stocks. They're not. But they're a bad investment. They are. Because they just want just to get by. But sometimes they got to want more. So you have to be able to invest into the family members that's going to, build something. I'm not asking, to get money back, but at least, you help contribute to see them successful. But paying somebody's light bill and then the next week they off at the beach spending all this money on, it's like, that's a bad investment. It's something that you really have to think about. But staying at home with your parents, if you don't plan, that's going to be the option. If you're not planning, that's going to be the option. And I don't want that to happen. You need to make sure that you're sitting down making things available to you while you're in high school. That's where you're not subject to, I guess I got to do this because I didn't plan for this. High school is a place where you can have a couple different thoughts and ideas and write your plan out, write your vision out, and work towards that vision. What is your vision for a 9th grader? What is your vision for a 10th grader? What is your vision for 11th, 12th? And what is your money looking like for that? If you don't write that stuff out, it's going to hurt you in the end. But remember, each path has its own requirements, and understanding what they are can alleviate a lot of stress on you. And if joining the military is something that you want to do, you've been planning for it. You know what the qualifications are. It makes things easier. Studying for the ASVAB, having focused on what I got to do to get a business license, what I got to do to get all these different types of things. So I want you to know that. But let's not forget the consequences of not doing nothing. If you don't take the time to plan, then you risk being unprepared. And I tell people all the time, your failure to plan cannot be my priority. Your failure to plan cannot be your priority. And those are the different things that I wanted to bring to your attention. Well, remember, my theory is each high school student are planning to do one of 4 things. 1, military. 2, college, and I defined what college is. 3, that business. And 4, they're going to be at home with their parents working odd jobs. But that 4th one normally happens because that high school student and that parent do not have a clear vision for that child. I'm hoping that vision is not you. But before I sign off here, I want to encourage every high school student out there, do not hesitate to reach out to your teachers, mentors, people in the military, people in the city government, all these different types of people that you can reach out to provide guidance, support, and invaluable insight where they can help you prepare for your future. Because if you don't, you're going to be home with your parents trying to take whatever comes along. And remember, you're not alone in the journey. All these people are here to help you, and they want to see your success. So in conclusion, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Power of Team Will podcast. And I hope you find this information helpful as you plan for your life after high school. And if you enjoyed this episode, like I said before, please like, subscribe, rate it, leave a comment, share with your friend. Try to give them the information. And if you have any questions on this topic to cover, send me an email. Check it out. I'm on social media. Check out all my social media sites. Until next time, remember to dream big, plan smart, and take action. The future is waiting for you. And if you fail to plan to fail. Because your failure to plan is not my priority, people. Stay motivated.